Omar Isaf here, and in today's video, a simple nutrition video. Very simple, short and sweet, to the point. How many carbs do you need if you're trying to be in a lean mass phase? And when should you eat them? In other words, I define, first of all, lean mass phase when you're trying to gain about 1 to 2 pounds of quality size per month. This is not a bulk. You're not going to get fat. And in particular, we're talking about the athletic, aesthetic individual. Someone who is training to look good. We all want to look good naked, but you also care about performance, so you do anabolic conditioning. For this individual, it depends upon your activity, it depends upon your genetics. I mean, it goes without saying, if we give a rough guideline for protein intake, it should be approximately, considering that you're lean, thinking that you're lean, 1 gram per pound of body weight. Fat intake is dependent upon the carbs as well, because there's a ratio between those two, how well you handle carbs. But in general, we can say, safely, approximately half a gram per pound of body weight, roughly. The remaining calories are usually always comprised of carbohydrates. Now, when we talk about the amount, it depends upon your activity. Here's what you should know. They did a study and they examined if someone did about 24 sets of total physical exercise, so you're doing 24 sets in that workout, how many carbohydrates do you need to take to replenish your glycogen, where your body essentially stores energy? And they found, surprisingly, it's only about 60 grams of carbohydrates. So that it is a myth when people say, oh, I gotta, flood the carbs post-workout to help replenish my glycogen, either my liver glycogen or my muscle glycogen. In actuality, you only deplete about 60 grams of carbs per workout. Carbohydrate intake, I've always felt, is correlated very strongly to your total amount of physical activity. So it depends on how much you're working out per week. We could give a rough guideline by saying between 1 to 3 grams per pound of body weight is that broad range for an individual, how much carbohydrates they should consume on a daily basis. Your intake, as I said before, will be determined by 2 major factors, right? Your total amount of physical activity, how many times you train, and what do you do, and then your genetics, how well can you handle carbs. This is something very individual. This is why I give a broad range. I advocate not turning into a fat ass. So what does that mean? It means the following. You'd start with a lower carbohydrate recommendation. If this is your first lean mass phase, or if you got fat before and you don't want to get fat again, you do my pre-existing recommendation, 1 gram per pound of body weight of protein, half a gram per pound of body weight of fat, and then start usually, well, let's say about 1.5 grams per pound of body weight of carbohydrates. That's very low, but you can evaluate your body, because remember, you got to measure these things to quantify them. So measure your body weight every single day and then take the average over a period of a week. If you're gaining approximately 1 to 2 pounds per month, you're doing it right. If you're not, you can up your carbohydrate amount. What you'll also notice is that you'll reach that sweet spot in a lean mass phase where you're consuming the appropriate amount of carbohydrates so you feel like you have sufficient energy for that workout. That's a common complaint of going low carb when you're in a fat loss phase. You feel like you don't have enough energy. You feel like death. Carbs do give you energy. Now that we've established, the basics, how much carbohydrates you should take, the question of timing is something a lot of guys get confused. And to put it simply, timing isn't nearly as important as we once thought it was. Timing is dependent on a couple key factors, and once again, they're very individual dependent. The question comes down to, when should you consume carbohydrates that feel the best for your workout? Now, some people will do intermittent fasting. Other people will consume carbs around their workout. Still others will spread them throughout the day, right? Having an even approach. Some people will do carb backloading. I think this is individual dependent. If you look at the studies, you'll see that between those who fast and those who just consume carbs or food on a regular basis throughout the day, the difference is quite minimal. So timing isn't a big factor, it's more individual dependent. With that being said, I will say that for some of you guys that are super stressed out, you're not getting enough sleep, the idea of intermittent fasting, if your cortisol is chronically slightly elevated and your insulin's not really sensitive, because those two are correlated to one another, intermittent fasting might not be the best option for you. I would experiment. Me personally, saying anecdotal evidence right here, what I do consume carbs around the workout to help sustain my energy. I do intense, it's not a 1 hour workout, we're talking about a 2 hour full-on training session. So that's what I do. You determine how to split up your carbs. And I will say, not only is it dependent upon insulin sensitivity, your resistance, your cortisol levels, but also your stomach. I mean, there is a limit to how much some individuals can digest at any one time. So the idea of doing that intermittent fasting where you consume your food in a 6 to 8 hour window might not work for some. I recommend experimenting and finding out what combination will produce the best result for you guys in terms of energy levels. Now, with that being said, I told you it was going to be short, sweet, to the point. We talked about total carbohydrate intake. I said it's roughly between 1 to 3 grams per pound of body weight for an individual. When we talked about timing, I reviewed that once again, if you see the literature, timing isn't as important as we thought. I do think consuming a little bit of food around your workout is a smart idea. Me personally, I tend to spread my carbohydrates, have an even split throughout the day. That works for me. You have to find out what works right for you. This has been an edition of Simple Nutrition. Taking these concepts, some people will try and convolute them and make them, oh, you gotta time this right at this time, otherwise you're gonna die. Man, it's not about that, right? It's about total caloric intake and total carbohydrate intake. So thank you, as always, for watching my video. If you like the video, make sure to like the video and show your support. And if you're not a subscriber, man, I don't even want to talk to you. You guys, my loyal subscribers, I'll be seeing all you guys. That was a killer finger point in the next video. Take care of yourself. Bang, bang.